She needed $50,000 to survive. He wanted a child. What fate revealed was inspiring and life-changing. Emily sat on the threadbare couch, her eyes scanning the empty walls of her modest living room. The air felt heavy, almost oppressive, as she hugged her knees to her chest. Vivid memories of laughter echoed in her mind, but today, it was just her and the relentless ticking clock that seemed to mock her growing despair. With each passing second, the reality of her life pressed down harder, the $50,000 debt looming for her treatment, the tiny hands of her 8-year-old son, Jake, that reached out to her for strength she didn't know if she had left. Across town, Tom was drowning in his own silent battles. A decorated war veteran, he wore his scars like a badge, yet the emptiness inside threatened to swallow him whole. The quiet nights were the hardest, tainted by images he couldn't shake and dreams of fatherhood that felt more like mirages. At 35, he spent his days juggling 2 jobs, trying to rebuild a life that felt shattered beyond repair. The yearning for a family tugged at his heart, shadowed by the belief that he was too broken to provide. It was fate that drew them to the community charity event that night. Bright lights bathed the hall in warmth, the laughter of townsfolk mixing with the soft strumming of a guitar. Emily stood at the podium, her voice trembling as she shared her story, each word laced with desperation and hope. "I just need a chance to see my son grow up." Tears blurred her vision, but she pressed on, driven by the love for Jake. Tom, standing in the back, felt the gravity of her words grip his soul. He could almost hear his own heart thundering in rhythm with hers. In that moment, he knew he had to help. "Let me organize a fundraiser for you," he blurted, surprising even himself. Emily looked at him, a glimmer of hope flickering in her weary eyes. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue." As the event unfolded, mixed reactions rippled through the crowd. Whispers of judgment hung in the air, questioning Tom's motives. What could a man like him offer a sick mother? They murmured. But amidst the skeptical comments, a few townsfolk began to see the beauty in their unusual partnership. They were 2 souls, both fighting for something larger than themselves, a chance at survival and love. But then, just as hope seemed tangible, Emily's situation took a turn. A call from her doctor brought devastating news: her illness was progressing faster than anticipated. Panic gripped her tightly, and as she gazed into Jake's innocent eyes, a horrifying thought clutched at her heart. Would she really leave him? The stakes were raised, the timeline closing in like a vice. Tom felt the pressure too, his longing for a family mixed with rising fears of inadequacy. Together, they faced judgment and misunderstanding, as the townsfolk grew increasingly divided over their bond. A community on the brink of transformation built from the ashes of fear, judgment, and the undeniable power of human connection. As the date of the upcoming fundraiser loomed, Emily and Tom were about to come face to face with everything they hoped for and everything they feared. Could their growing relationship catalyze not just Emily's healing but also pave the way for a future as a family? The town was watching, their expectations looming larger than ever as the clock ticked down to the pivotal night that would change everything. Would love and hope be strong enough to conquer the overwhelming tide against them? Emily sat at the small kitchen table, the sunlight filtering through the window and casting warm patches on the worn wood. She clutched a mug of lukewarm coffee, her mind racing with a storm of thoughts. Could Tom really help her? The world outside her walls was filled with uncertainty, but she felt a flicker of hope when she thought of him. Their connection, however strange, felt genuine, and the kindness in his eyes reminded her that she wasn't entirely alone. Jake's laughter erupted from the living room, a sweet sound that grounded her. He was playing with his action figures, completely unaware of the turmoil that surrounded them. For him, life was still innocent and vibrant, filled with dreams. She wanted nothing more than to secure that innocence from the weight of her illness. Across town, Tom was busy preparing for the fundraiser. He jotted down lists of local businesses to approach for donations, his mind whirling with ideas of how to bring people together. Every time he thought of Emily's story, it tugged at his heart. She was more than a mother in need. She represented a future he yearned for, one that could fill the emptiness he held inside. As Tom walked down the street, recollections of another time washed over him. He remembered his childhood and the warmth of family gatherings. His parents' laughter, the aromas of food mixing with cheer. That warmth had grown cold over the years, mostly from his deployment that left him fractured and alone. Could a woman like Emily reignite his hope for a family? The night of the fundraiser approached, and the buzz in the community was palpable. Folks had rallied together, more than Tom had ever anticipated. Flyers had been plastered around town, and the word was spreading. But whispers of doubt still lingered, some vilifying Tom's intentions. Why would he help her? They murmured. What does he gain? On the evening of the event, as Emily put on a pair of small hoop earrings and glanced at her reflection, she practiced a smile. She didn't want fear to seep into her heart as she stepped into the unknown. Tonight could change everything. The bright lights of the community center flickered to life as she entered. It was buzzing with neighbors, friends, and even strangers who wanted to support. The tables were adorned with cheerful displays of baked goods and handmade crafts. In that moment, she felt a swell of gratitude washing over her. Every face around her, however skeptical, was an opportunity, a chance to tell her story and raise hope for her son. Tom spotted her from across the room, and their eyes locked. A warmth spread between them, a silent understanding of the battles they each faced. As he approached, a knot of anxiety twisted in Emily's stomach. It was time to share their story, to lean into the vulnerability that had brought them together. The microphone crackled to life as Tom took to the podium, the crowd silencing into keen attention. Just as he began to speak, a commotion erupted at the door. Startled faces turned, and Emily's heart sank as she recognized a group of town skeptics pushing their way in. Their presence was heavy, anxious whispers following in their wake. Does he really think he can save her? One voice sneered. This is just a publicity stunt. Tom hesitated, his gaze flicking to Emily, eyes wide and filled with a mix of fear and resolve. He understood that this wasn't just about raising money anymore, it was about proving love could rise above judgment. As he launched into the details of the fundraiser, Emily's heart raced, each word turning to fuel. Would the crowd accept him? Everything hinged on this moment, a chance for her to reclaim hope while they shielded one another from doubt. But just as Tom spoke of their united strength, a loud voice cut through the air, making every heart in the room skip a beat. Who does he think he is? The woman called out, piercing the silence. Emily's breath hitched. Would tonight be a blessing or curse? The crowd held its breath, waiting, and she felt the familiar weight of panic rising within her. As the room watched with bated breath, Emily realized she had to speak for herself. Would she be brave enough to confront the naysayers? What she was about to reveal could change everything she feared and longed for. Emily's heart hammered in her chest, drowning out the world around her. The crowd's expectant faces blurred, the murmurs of doubt sinking deep into her gut. For a moment, she almost turned back, wanting to fade into the background again. But she had to fight for Jake, fight for her story, and fight for the chance of happiness. Excuse me. Her voice wobbled but cut through the tense air like a knife. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. I need you all to listen. Silence fell over the room, a heavy blanket of anticipation. Tom's gaze was locked on her, his encouragement palpable. She felt the sting of tears at the corners of her eyes but pushed them back. Now wasn't the time for weakness. Tom isn't doing this for publicity, she began, her voice growing steadier. He's doing this because he believes in me and us. He believes that together, we can change the course of my life and my son's life. A few heads nodded. Others remained skeptical, their expressions melting back into lines of doubt. I don't want pity, she continued, her breath hitching. I want hope. And I want my son to have a future. The murmurs began again, quiet but urgent. She spotted one of the skeptics, May, a woman she'd grown up with, reserving her judgment with folded arms and tight lips. Emily needed to break through that barrier. Last year, I was healthy, chasing dreams like any proud mom, she pressed on, vulnerability spilling from her lips. But now? Every day is a battle against this disease. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for a chance to fight, to be there for my son, to play catch in the backyard, to see him grow up without a shadow hanging over him. Tom stepped closer, his presence warm and grounding. Emily is more than her illness, he added, his voice a soothing balm. She is a mother, a fighter. She deserves this chance as much as anyone else. Emily's eyes flicked back to Tom, a surge of gratitude swelling within her. How had she gotten so lucky? Then, a sour voice broke through what felt like a fragile moment of connection. But what about our kids? Sneered May, her expression hardening. What if he's just using you to fill his own void? The question hung in the air, sharp and challenging. It was a haunting reflection of her own fears. The reason Tom was doing this wasn't clear-cut, and that uncertainty twisted like a knife. Could she dare to think of love blossoming from this chaos? I know my worth just as much as I know my need for help, Emily responded powerfully, a renewed fire burning in her chest. And if it means bringing everyone together, if it means building something meaningful, then I'm more than willing to share my struggles. Yes, we're here asking for money, but more than anything, I'm here looking for a community, a family, and maybe, just maybe, a little understanding. As her voice dropped, she noticed some nods in the crowd. Maybe she was getting through. Glancing at Tom, she could see pride shimmering in his eyes. But before she could bask in that tiny victory, another voice spoke from the back, this time a man. But what do you really want to gain from all of this? His tone was challenging yet tinged with curiosity. Suddenly, the crowd turned back to her, the focus shifting again. Would revealing her deepest desires shatter what little resolve she had? Or could it inspire them to embrace the very essence of their humanness, the need for connection? Emily took a step forward, feeling her heart race. It was all or nothing now. I want to survive, and I want a family again. I want my son to know he's not alone in this world. That he has a future. And I dare to find love again. The air thickened with emotion, the crowd now alive with whispers. All eyes bore into her, the weight of their judgment and curiosity heavy on her shoulders. Can I really take the plunge? She thought. Just as she prepared to steady her breath again, Tom reached out, placing his hand gently on her shoulder, his touch anchoring her. Emily could almost hear the beating of her heart echoing in the silence. But amid the newfound resolve, another question sat heavily in the air: would the community rally together, or would they fold under skepticism? And with that weighty thought, she braced for what would come next, a decisive moment that could seal her fate and the future she desperately longed for. Would they join her? Would they see the worth in a shared belief? Would they help her fight? As the weight of all their eyes pressed down, she wondered, would fate deliver the truth she sought? Emily's breath hitched as the silence enveloped her like a thick fog. The whispered doubts stirred by May and the other skeptics hung in the air, tightening her chest. She felt exposed, standing there revealing her vulnerabilities to a crowd that barely knew her. Please, she began, her voice trembling, the weight of expectation crushing her. But she wasn't ready to give up. Not now. Let us take a step back, Tom interjected, his voice steady and clear. Before we move forward, can we talk about what really matters? This isn't just about Emily or money. This is about hope, dreams, and ultimately, what connects us as a community. The murmurs died down. By addressing the crowd as if they were a family, Tom was reminding everyone of the thread that tied them together: compassion. Even May's contemptuous expression softened for a heartbeat. Exactly, Emily jumped in, her voice now gaining momentum. What I'm asking for is not just for me, it's for every parent who fights to keep their family together, every person who dreams of rejoining life after struggle. We all want to feel secure, to feel loved. That's what this fight is about. The crowd shifted, eyes widening with understanding. A few people exchanged glances, some leaning in slightly, as if they could physically draw closer to her plea. I know that many of you might be thinking, why should we care? Why should we help? She said, bravely facing her audience. And all I can say is I've been where you are. We've all faced hardships, and many of you know the length you'd go for your loved ones. Well, I am willing to go that great distance for mine. Jake is everything to me. I want to be the safest person for him, the one who ensures that he has the life he deserves, full of laughter and love. The rumbles of doubt began to quiet down, replaced with an engaged curiosity. Emily caught sight of someone in the back, a single mother, teary-eyed, whose nod spoke volumes. What if we were to stand together? Tom suggested, his hand still on Emily's shoulder, grounding her. What if we shared our strength? What if we held each other up instead of questioning each other's worth? A man at the edge of the crowd raised his hand. What can we do? He asked, sincerity lighting up his expression. Emily felt hope jump in her chest. We can organize events. We can create a fund, something that goes beyond just this. Together we can hold workshops, offer services that give back to this community while supporting a cause that reflects our shared experiences. Yeah. I like that. Shouted another voice, a young girl who barely reached her mother's waist. We can bake. A wave of laughter rose in the audience, breaking the tension like morning sunshine after a storm. Suddenly, the doubts began melting away, replaced by an undeniable sense of purpose. Little by little, the crowd began to discuss ideas, their voices growing louder, weaving a tapestry of community involvement. Emily's heart soared as she watched the once distant faces transform into hopeful expressions. Thank you. She exclaimed, unable to suppress the tears that threatened to spill over. Thank you for believing in this. In Jake. In us. Together, we can do this. But just as she was rejoicing in the shared enthusiasm, May stood up again, and this time, her voice rang with a different tone. What if you're not strong enough? What if this all falls apart? Is it really worth investing in? The questioning silence that followed felt like an icy chill, pulling at the threads of their newly woven bond. Emily's heart sank. Those were the thoughts she had silenced in her own heart, and now they threatened to break through the fragile hope they had built. Do I have what it takes, really? She thought, fear creeping in again. As she searched the faces of the crowd, uncertainty flickered in their eyes, but deep down, something had changed. The connection was there. But would it be enough? With a breath full of desperation mixed with determination, Emily felt the time had come to answer May, not just for herself but for all of them. I don't have all the answers, but together, we're stronger. I'd rather face the unknown with shared dreams than stand alone in fear. But would it be enough to silence the doubts that remained? Would everyone rally behind her and for Jake when it truly mattered? The moment whispered promise and peril all at once, leaving Emily to wonder what lay ahead. As the silence pressed down like a heavy blanket, Emily took a moment to gather her thoughts. She couldn't give in to the fear that threatened to strangle her. Not now, when she could see flickers of hope dancing in the eyes of those gathered before her. The question from May lingered, but there was a united energy growing among them, that couldn't be ignored. Together, she said firmly, her voice steadying, we can create something beautiful. Something that matters. Tom nodded, echoing her sentiments. Imagine if every single one of us pledges just a little. What if we host community dinners, movie nights? Give those funds directly to Emily and Jake's cause? The crowd began to murmur, the gears of inspiration shifting slowly but surely. People started brainstorming aloud. A woman from the front row suggested a flea market, while another spoke of a charity run. Each idea piled on top of the last, building a structure of hope and action. Just then, a familiar face emerged from the back. It was Laura, a former high school friend of Emily's. Laura approached, her hands clasped tightly. "Can I speak?" Emily's heart raced. They hadn't spoken in years, and the memories of their friendship flooded her mind. "Of course," Emily replied, motioning for her to continue. "We've all stumbled. I lost my brother last year, and it put everything into perspective. Losing him changed how I see life. I realized how important connections are. So, I'm in." Laura's voice cracked with vulnerability. "I'll throw in my savings. I've had an extra $2,000 tucked away for when I feel ready to make big changes in my life. If this helps Jake find a future, I want to do that." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Emily blinked back tears. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was a communal effort, transforming individual dreams into a broader purpose. Laura's declaration seemed to ignite the crowd further. One by one, people began stepping forward to share their stories, pledging their support, whether through skills they could offer or funds they could spare. A teacher proposed free tutoring sessions, an elderly couple shared their love for cooking and volunteering to organize a community banquet. "Count us in too," shouted out the single mother from the back, her voice strong and proud. And just like that, seeds of encouragement scattered across the gathering. Emily felt the walls of doubt crumble, replaced by a sense of solidarity growing louder by the minute. A young man, sporting tattoos and a beanie, stood up, eyes glinting with determination. "I can offer music lessons. Let us have a concert for Jake. I know a bunch of local bands willing to play for free. We can charge an entry fee." The crowd erupted into cheers, the air buzzing with possibilities. However, amid the jubilant chaos, May remained silent, her expression unreadable. Emily couldn't shake the nagging awareness that May was still out there, embodying the hesitation lingering in the corners of her mind. As Emily soaked in the atmosphere, a knot twisted in her stomach. What if this enthusiasm faded? What if the community couldn't sustain the momentum of their initial fervor? But there was no turning back now, right? "Let us plan our next steps," Tom said, gathering control of the excitement. "We want to keep this going, to make a real impact. We have to vote on our first events and gather commitments." Suddenly, a clap of thunder rumbled through the sky, interrupting the fervent energy. The storm clouds gathered overhead, a reminder of the forces against them. Emily felt her heart race. The weather matched her swirling thoughts. Can we really pull this all off? She wondered, the questions pouring into her mind like the rain now splattering against the ground. This would be her moment. But could they brave whatever the storm, both literal and metaphorical, might bring? As lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the crowd, Emily stood at the precipice of a decision, her heart pounding with determination and uncertainty. Would they forge ahead or falter in the face of adversity? In that moment, she realized. The battle for Jake's future was just beginning, and the storm had only just begun to brew. The storm broke with a torrent of rain, drumming on the pavement and sending the crowd into a flurry of movement. Emily's heart raced as she watched everyone scrambling for cover. Voices clamored, laughter mingled with shouts, and yet beneath it all, a sense of urgency danced in the air, pulling them closer together. Inside. Everyone inside. Tom shouted over the storm, his voice cutting through the chaos. The community center was just a few steps away, its doors inviting like a beacon amidst the storm. As they filed inside, Emily caught sight of Laura, who was now pulling others along, her earlier vulnerability replaced with fierce determination. It was clear, the storm was no barrier, it was a catalyst. Once inside, a group huddled in a corner while the rain thrummed against the windows, creating a rhythmic backdrop to their energy. Emily wiped the water from her face, searching the room for May. She couldn't see her, but sensing that familiar tension, she knew May was still somewhere in the crowd, caught between hope and fear. "Let's take a moment," Tom called out, raising a hand, urging silence. The chatter gradually faded, but energy still pulsed through the air. "We're here because we believe in something greater than ourselves." That was clear outside. "We need to keep that spirit alive in here." Emily could see the resolve setting in on every face. The storm may have swept in chaos, yet it also seemed to clear out doubt. Someone in the back shouted, "What can we plan while we wait?" As ideas flew around the room, bake sales, charity art shows, a potential online fundraiser, Emily felt a spark growing within her. Here was the heart of their community, and they were ready to fight for Jake's future. A woman with gentle eyes stood up, her hands trembling slightly. "My sister runs a bakery. We could collaborate for a series of fundraising events, cakes for a cause." "Love it!" Another yelled, excitement bubbling. "And I could help with advertising. I've got contacts at the local paper." Warmth spread through Emily's chest. This was happening. The burdens she carried no longer felt so heavy with the support of her friends and neighbors. Then, amid the whirl of enthusiasm, May finally stepped into view, a hesitant figure lingering at the edge. Emily's heart thudded. Would she join them or keep her distance? "Can I just say something?" May's voice broke through, shaky but firm. She took a deep breath as everyone turned their attention to her. "I've seen too many things fail before. I want to help, but I'm scared. What if we put in all this effort only to fall short? What if we fail?" The room fell silent, the raw honesty catching everyone off guard. Emily's heart sank, feeling the weight of May's fear resonate in her own doubts. Yet in a moment of clarity, Emily stepped forward. "But what if we don't fail? What if this is our moment? We've all faced our struggles. We are here together, and that means something." The crowd began to murmur again, hope flickering back to life. As May looked around, her expression softened. Emily could see the wheels turning in her mind. Maybe, just maybe, she would understand the power of unity. Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder echoed, making everyone jump. However, it felt different this time, more like an applause, an affirmation of their determination to fight against the dark sea of uncertainty. "Let's take the next hour and start delegating responsibilities," Tom shouted, arms raised once more. "By the end of this storm, we'll have a plan." As they fell into discussions and laughter amidst the rain, Emily felt hope blossom in her heart. But beneath the excitement, her mind raced with the daunting task ahead. Could they truly gather the $50,000 needed for Jake? With the sound of storm clouds looming, Emily's resolve flourished. It was just the beginning of a long journey. And as they made plans, she couldn't shake the feeling that the real storm was yet to come. What challenges lay ahead as they set this plan into motion? Would they still stand together when the winds of doubt blew strong? The sound of the storm outside faded to a hum as the energy within the community center shifted. Emily glanced around, caught in a whirlwind of determination and hope. Each person had taken a role, rallying in unity beneath the dim lights, their shadows cast by the flickering fluorescent tubes overhead. Tom stood at the front, a map of the county laid out before him. "Let's break into teams. We'll start by organizing a bake sale next weekend. I'll need a few volunteers to handle logistics. Can I get a show of hands for who's in?" Without hesitation, a wave of hands shot up. Emily felt a swell of pride, her heart racing with the thrill of collective action. She raised her hand, too. "I can help with the social media side." May still lingered at the back, uncertainty flickering on her face despite the warmth igniting around her. Emily caught her gaze and offered a reassuring smile, hoping to pull her in. "And what about you, May?" Tom asked, turning his attention. "We could really use your creativity for the flyers." A moment of hesitation passed, almost palpable. Then, May squared her shoulders and stepped forward, her usual anxiousness replaced with a new spark. "I'll design something. I think I could do that." Cheers erupted around them, and Emily caught May's eye again, this time with a wide smile. Perhaps the storm had shifted something deep within her friend, the promise of potential surfacing amidst the chaos. As the group broke into teams, ideas bounced around like raindrops hitting pavement. Emily immersed herself in discussions, finding exhilaration in the planning. She and another friend brainstormed on unique treats they could sell, everything from themed cupcakes to savory pies. Each idea grew taller and closer, almost tangible under the enthusiasm filling the room. Yet, amidst the excitement, a flicker of worry nestled in Emily's heart. Could they really rally the community when the stakes were so high? When life hung in balance? The thought gnawed at her, an ember refusing to die out. "Hey, what's got you?" Laura interrupted, concern shadowing her features. "You seemed so pumped earlier." Emily sighed, rubbing a hand over her forehead. "It's just we need to raise $50,000. What if it's not enough? What if Jake?" Laura shook her head gently. "Don't think that way. Every dollar and every moment counts. We'll be there for each other, right? Just like we are now." The reassurance kindled the warmth in Emily's heart again, but a shadow of doubt remained. As they refocused on the task, brainstorming and laughing, another loud clap of thunder resonated through the building. Windows rattled, and for a brief moment, fear threaded through their joyous energy. It was as if the storm spoke, reminding them of the stakes at hand. "Let's not let the thunder drown out our plans," Tom called, his voice resonant and strong. "This storm is our call to action. The louder the storm outside, the louder we get inside. We fight back." Motivated, the chatter swelled, voices layering into a tapestry of hope and determination. Emily joined the rush of excitement, jotting down ideas, challenging each proposal with enthusiasm. But even as she worked alongside her neighbors, a sinking realization dawned on her: for every plan made, every dollar counted, new challenges awaited. Would their resolve withstand the trials yet to come? As the room filled with laughter and purpose, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that even the mightiest storm couldn't keep them down, but an even greater test loomed just ahead. The night wore on, and as they wrapped up, May caught up with Emily by the door, a determined look on her face. "Let's plan a real community rally," she said. "Something bigger. Something that can really bring everyone together." Emily felt her heart leap. A rally, that's genius. But as the word settled in the air, an unsettling thought tempered her excitement. Would their efforts attract enough support? Or would their ambitions falter in the face of reality? With the sound of swirling winds outside, Emily found herself standing on the edge of more than just a plan. What would it take to turn their fragile dreams into bold reality? The storm was just the beginning, and she still wasn't sure if they could weather what lay ahead. The air in the community center buzzed with inspiration, but Emily couldn't shake the weight of her worries. As May shot off to rally others, excitement flashing in her eyes, Emily watched the room transform into a hive of activity. Everyone was alive with purpose, a storm of ideas swirling like the tempest outside. She sat down at a table, pen in hand, and tried to outline the plans for the rally. But the paper remained blank. The specter of Jake's condition loomed closer, making the ink feel heavier with each strained attempt to write. A deep breath steadied her, but flickers of doubt still gnawed at her heart. Not for the first time, she wished for a magic wand to make things all right. Or maybe just a little more time. "Emily." A familiar voice broke through her thoughts. It was Sam, one of the seasoned volunteers who had led many community fundraisers in the past. You alright? You look a little lost in thought. Emily forced a smile. Just trying to figure out how to make this rally work. We can't just put a band-aid on our goals, we need something that's really memorable. Sam folded his arms over the table, a spark lighting his eyes. You're right. This needs to be an event that brings everyone together, makes them feel like they're part of something bigger. How about entertainment? We could get some local musicians. Definitely, Emily replied, her heart lifting at the idea. Live music could bring in the crowds and make the atmosphere more inviting. As they chatted, ideas spilled forth like rain from the clouds. They began sketching out plans for food trucks, family-oriented activities, and even mini workshops where locals could showcase their skills. Emily could feel the shift in her spirit as the possibilities unfolded. As ambitious as it seemed, they were building a vision. Yet, for every ounce of excitement, Emily felt a counterbalance of fear. Could they really pull all this together by next month? And would anyone even show up? Night melted into murky reality as the group discussed logistics, their bubbling enthusiasm uniting them in shared purpose. May returned, her enthusiasm almost contagious, a vibrant flyer idea in her hands. Here's a sneak peek. I'm thinking bright colors, big lettering, something that pops. Yeah. It needs to evoke curiosity, Emily said, feeling buoyed. The atmosphere in the room radiated warmth and camaraderie. A loud clap of thunder made them all jump. All right team, let's channel that energy. Tom called out, rallying the crowd again. Emily felt her skin prickling from the energy buzzing in the center, mixed with apprehension spiraling up her spine. At the end of the night, everyone began packing up, laughter echoing in the hallways. May turned to Emily before leaving, her eyes shining with determination. This is going to be amazing. You know that, right? Yeah, I just hope we can keep it together, Emily said, her voice faltering for a moment. Hey! May grabbed her shoulders lightly. We'll figure it out together. Remember why we're doing this. Emily forced herself to nod, even as worry gnawed at her. They were indeed on the precipice of something new, a growing wave of hope. As she looked at the faces of her friends and neighbors, she felt an ember flicker to life within her. That ember was resilience. Alone now, Emily took a deep breath, staring out the window at the continuing storm. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the darkened streets. Nature's chaos outside mirrored her own turmoil. What if the rally didn't meet their expectations? What if they fell flat? As she stood there, contemplating the challenges ahead, she felt a sense of urgency rise within her. Yes, they had each other, and yes, they could create something spectacular together. But with the stakes so high, Emily understood they weren't just fighting for Jake anymore, they were fighting for the whole community to unite, to believe, to heal. Could they really pull this off? Would their dreams withstand the challenges looming just beyond the horizon? The storm roared outside, but Emily could almost hear another voice amongst the thunder calling her to act, to fight back, to spark change. Ready or not, it was time to face her fears head-on. The very first rally was only the beginning, but what next steps would they need to take to ensure it became a reality? The days slipped by like the cool autumn breeze, carrying with them the weight of anticipation and tension. Emily found herself immersed in preparations for the rally at every free moment, her heart racing with each detail that unfolded. Posters sprang up around town, vibrant with their hopeful message. Conversations about the event buzzed in every cafe and loading dock. Yet, even amidst the whirl of activity, the specter of Jake loomed large in Emily's thoughts. One evening, a handful of volunteers gathered in her living room, mapping out the logistics. May spread a few photos of past fundraisers across the coffee table, hoping they could offer inspiration. But as the team discussed everything from sound systems to lighting, a small knot of dread twisted in Emily's stomach. What if we don't raise the money we need? She voiced, her words nearly swallowed by the rhythm of laughter surrounding them. Emily, Sam chimed in, his voice steady and calm. We're building something here, something that goes beyond money. It's about community. It's about uniting for Jake, for each other. His reassurance washed over her, but another question tugged at her heart: would they be enough? Everyone continued brainstorming, tossing ideas like seeds into fertile ground. The room thrummed with laughter, and Emily couldn't help but smile at the joy radiating from her friends. This was not just her rally anymore. It belonged to all of them, each one committed to the cause, each one carrying their hopes alongside her. The following week, they met at a local park to finalize details. The bright autumn sun warmed the air, bright leaves swirling as children played nearby. Emily felt nostalgia wash over her, memories of childhood fun, of community days filled with laughter. As they gathered, May suggested a surprise guest, a local hero who had faced a battle with illness and come out triumphing. "We need someone to inspire hope," she urged, her eyes sparkling. Emily gripped her pen tightly, scribbling down thoughts. Ideas flowed amidst the warm chatter. Suddenly, a sense of clarity washed over her. Let us spark a light in everyone. What if we have a moment during the event where each of us shares why we're here? A little story, a little heart. The group fell silent for a moment, processing. Then someone clapped their hands excitedly. "I love that. Real stories make real connections." As they worked late into the night, Emily's worries still simmered just below the surface. She couldn't shake the feeling that everything hinged on the rally, not just for Jake but for the fabric of their little community. Would they rally together and stand strong? On the eve of the event, Emily sat alone on her porch, the quiet urging her to contemplate. A blanket of stars hung overhead, twinkling with promise. She grasped a small journal resting in her lap, filled with personal reflections and hopes. There was a blank page yearning for words, but her pen couldn't find the courage to move. Across the street, a few neighbors set up their decorations, laughter escaping into the night air. For a moment, Emily felt buoyed. Perhaps they weren't alone in this after all. She thought of Jake, the strength he'd shown. It made her want to fight harder, believe more deeply. The door creaked as May stepped onto the porch, settling beside her. "Nervous?" Emily nodded slowly. "But what if it's not enough?" May turned to her, eyes fierce with belief. "But what if it is enough? What if we touch lives? What if this brings us all together?" The spark ignited again. They were warriors united in purpose, not just fighting for funds, but for hope and healing. As the clock ticked steadily towards the rally, an unshakable urgency gripped Emily's soul. This transcended Jake. It was about their community, their connections, the love they shared. What would the next day hold? Would they face the storm, or could they forge something beautiful amidst it? She inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of her fears wash away, welcoming the possibility of what was to come. Little did she know, the morning would bring news destined to change everything. The sun rose slowly, bathing the town in a warm golden glow, the promise of a new day settling over Emily's heart. As she stood in front of her mirror, she took a deep breath, a flurry of emotions swirling within her. The rally was finally here. Her stomach fluttered with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Could they make a difference? Would the community show up for her and Jake? Glancing out the window, she spotted the town square decorated with colorful banners and stalls. Laughter erupted from her neighbors as they set up tables, filling the air with the sweet scent of pastries and hot coffee. It was a sight that both warmed her heart and amplified her fears. "Mom, I want to help," Jake shouted, bounding into the kitchen, his little hands pulling at her apron. His excitement was contagious. She knelt to his level, looking deep into his eyes. "You are helping, buddy, just by being you." As they set off together to the rally, hand in hand, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this day would change everything. Arriving at the park, she felt the buzz of anticipation thrumming through the crowd. Families gathered, children ran around, and the camaraderie enveloped her like a warm embrace. Tom stood at the podium, his presence commanding yet approachable. He smiled at Emily, giving her an encouraging nod before addressing the crowd. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We're not just here to raise money, we're here to create something meaningful for our friend Emily and her son, Jake." Cheers erupted, and Emily felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Even the skeptics seemed transformed, smiles lighting up their faces. This wasn't just about her story, it was a community coming together, a family forging connections. With every moment, doubt slipped further away. As people began to volunteer their stories, the atmosphere crackled with inspiration. A woman from the crowd stood up, her voice shaky yet determined. "I lost my sister to illness. I know what it's like and how important support is. I'm here for you, Emily." With each heartfelt story shared, Emily felt the weight on her shoulders lighten. This rally was more than a fundraiser, it was an open heart-to-heart with the community, a chance for everyone to find strength in vulnerability. One by one, they pledged donations and promises of support, each sobering yet heartwarming moment threading them closer together. Then, it was Emily's turn. The crowd fell silent, anticipation etched on their faces. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, her heart racing. This was her moment to speak not just for herself, but for all those who fought battles unseen. "I stand here as a mother, scared yet unyielding. Because of you, I see hope blooming where there was once fear. Every dollar raised today means a chance for my son to have a future filled with love and laughter. You are this chance for us together, we are stronger." As the crowd erupted in cheers, she spotted May in the front row, fists raised in solidarity. This community was ready to embrace them, to assure them they weren't alone in this fight. Just then, the unexpected happened. A local musician jumped onto the stage with his guitar, strumming a lively tune. With the foot-tapping rhythm inviting everyone to dance, the earlier tension shattered, laughter punctuating every note. Emily watched as Jake leapt forward, twirling the moment away, and in that instant, she felt a burst of joy overwhelming her worries. This was the life she wanted for him, carefree, happy, and surrounded by love. As afternoon rolled on, donations flooded in. The sheer generosity of the community surprised even Emily, $10,000 in the first hour, heading towards battles yet to come. Each contribution felt like threads stitching together their collective spirit. And then, amidst the joy, a familiar face appeared among the crowd, one of the skeptics, pushing through to the front. Emily's heart sank, but there was an openness in May's gaze, encouragement lighting her expression. "Anyone can fall on tough times," May said, speaking to the crowd. "If we pull together, we can lift each other up. This isn't just for Emily, it's for each of us fighting our battles, for our families." The crowd erupted in applause, the sound thunderous and affirming. Tom raised his hands, calling for attention. "Everyone, let us keep this momentum going. We have challenges ahead, but together we can forge a new path." And then a young girl from the crowd shouted, "Let us do this every year." In that moment, Emily knew they had transformed something simple, a fundraiser, into a movement. They weren't just raising money, they were creating a legacy, a community built on hope. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting shadows over the park, Emily felt the love enfolding her and Jake like a warm blanket. The journey ahead would be long and winding, filled with uncertainties, but they had each other, and they had their community. Together, they were unstoppable. And just as she thought all was secure, a silence fell over the crowd once more. A whisper of uncertainty danced in the air, leaving Emily to wonder what obstacles still lay ahead. But she wouldn't let fear dominate. She was ready to fight, and the rally had given her the strength to keep moving forward. "Today is only the beginning," she proclaimed, her voice ringing with conviction. "Let us continue to stand together, every step of the way." Immediately, the crowd surged forward, united in purpose. "For Emily!" They shouted as hope blossomed, revealing the true power of the ties they forged. This wasn't just a rally, it was a new dawn, a shared mission to uplift every member of their community. And just like that, the storm of Emily's doubts began to clear. In the days ahead, they would face challenges, but together, they could weather any storm. Would they triumph, united in their cause? Yes, they absolutely could. This was their moment. A community reborn, one act of love at a time. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Your thoughts matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. You need to show your support now. True fans understand the importance of rallying behind the channel.